Everyone, welcome back to Go With the Flo. This is actually the first episode of 2020, and we have quite the year lined up for you guys. And to start off this year, we actually have a guest on the show. Her name is Natasha Vandenhurk. I think I said that correct.
Yes, you did.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Anyway, she she is the CEO and co-founder of a business here in Saskatoon called Three Farmers Foods. And essentially, and we'll get into what that is, but essentially it's a company that develops healthy snacks from and directly from the farmers. Again, she'll explain a lot better than I can, but
hmm
she also went on CBC's Dragons Den, if you guys know what that show is. She went on there, and they successfully got a investment from, I believe, three of the dragons. Again, she'll explain all that to you guys. So yeah, thank you for coming on the show, Natasha. I'm very happy you're here. I'm
Yeah,
really
thank
looking
you.
forward to see what we talk about. Okay, so essentially, what I want to, what I'm really curious about is, again, your background, how you kind of started Three Farmers, your experience with Dragons Den, and kind of what you took out of that experience as well. Because I would personally say most people haven't been on a show like that, and so they'd be
hmm
curious to see like what you took away from it. I think that's very unique.
Yeah.
So anyways, just to get some of the background story, let's first just explain who you are, what you do, your company, stuff like that, just to give the audience some context here.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Natasha Vandenhurk, and I run a company called Three Farmers Foods based here in Saskatoon. And I guess if we go right back to the beginning, I'm born and raised here in Saskatchewan. I am one of six children. I'm one of the middle.
Hmm.
So there's the oldest and youngest are boys, and then it's four girls in the middle. And it's my
Okay.
sister and I that run this company. And so my dad was a construction worker and went farming once he had sort of worked up the savings to invest in growing the farm.
Hmm.
My mom was a social worker by trade, but then a full-time mom for a period of time before she bought a business when we sort of all started leaving the nest, I
Okay.
guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely an entrepreneurial family. I went to school in a school of 100 kids, so very small town youth, and moved to Saskatoon for post secondary. So I have an
And what
economics.
town? What town were you born in then?
Yeah, it's called Mydale, Saskatchewan.
Okay.
So right southeast corner of the province near the U.S. border,
Okay. Yeah.
Estevan Weyburn area.
Okay.
So yeah, so we were decent sized farmers down there, both cattle and grain. And yeah, so I moved to Saskatoon to do my post secondary. I have an economics degree from the university here. And I think I always knew I wanted to run a business. I
Okay.
just didn't know what that business looked like. I was always a really very driven individual going to university. I worked a number of jobs on top of university classes, lots of energy, and just a real passion to load myself up with work. I
Hmm.
think I like being busy and enjoyed that kind of lifestyle. So upon convocating, I went into estate planning actually. So with a company here in Saskatoon. I worked there for about 2 years, and then my dad approached me with this venture that they were forming around a new oil seed they had come across, which was called camelina.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was a novel crop that had never really been grown in Saskatchewan. And upon doing some research, him and a few neighbors
Hmm.
were finding that it was really great for growing conditions in Saskatchewan, but it had some really unique characteristics from a marketing standpoint.
Okay.
High in omega 3, so healthy like flax, but very stable. So it was shelf stable, so you didn't have to worry about rancidity in the short time frame that you would typically see in omega 3s, and it had a high smoke point, so it was functional in the kitchen.
Okay.
And so he approached me to see if I wanted to give some legs to this venture. I was looking for something more, so quickly agreed, quit my job, and basically jumped on board to a company that was really nothing at that time.
Yeah.
The operating name was called Canpresco,
Okay.
and we had no product.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was really I was tasked with just figuring out what this possibly looked like. And so I just started meeting with everyone and anyone that would spend some time with me learning about food science,
Mm.
oil seeds, learning about grocery retail, literally anybody that would sit down and talk to me. That's really how I started my research. then I quickly pulled my sister on board. So she's a Red Seal chef. She had
Right.
trained under Sue Lee. He's a celebrity chef in Toronto, and she was doing some baking here in Saskatchewan. So she came on board very quickly after me to help build this brand out. And we started working with a design agency and literally peddling one bottle of time at a time at the Saskatoon Farmers Market. Packed up our car, drove to Toronto, and started selling out of the trunk of our car.
Jeez.
And yeah, and so and that's really how we got going.
Wait, you drove to Toronto to sell your products?
Yes, yeah. It was, we were on a shoestring budget and we were going to be out there for a while.
Wow.
So, yeah, we drove out there and had sort of a hit list of the stores that we were going to go after. We were looking for more of those independent natural food shops, independent ownership. So they were really bought into what they were doing and really tied in with their customer base so that we knew they could be ambassadors for our product and really do that education piece for us.
Yeah.
And so we had a hit list, we started selling it in, and the traction right out of the gate was phenomenal. I mean, this oil really is phenomenal. The nutritional aspects of it, the taste, the functionality of it in the kitchen. So we saw traction right out of the gate with our camelina oil. As for the brand story, Free Farmers literally being three farmers from the prairies, really adding value ourselves and having that connection from farm to fork.
Okay.
People were really intrigued by us. So, McLean's did a 2-page spread very early on, which helped gain traction. And that's what led us into Dragons Den in 2012.
Okay, perfect. And again, we'll get into the Dragons Den a little bit more further in the podcast. But one thing I do want to establish right now is I would love to hear what your childhood was like. And the reason why is because, especially when you look at a lot of successful or influential people, their childhood and teenage years a lot of the time influence who they are as an adult and what they do as an adult too. So what was your childhood like? Because I am assuming you grew up on the farm and everything too. So can you give some people context of exactly what your life looked like as a child?
Yeah, there were 6 kids and we were farming, and farming was not that great back then. So we were not well off, just really hardworking parents. And we used to always say, oh, you just had so many kids so that you could put us to work. And I kind of in part think that was true. So, pounding a really big work ethic into us was it just right from the get-go. That was instilled in us, I think. So yeah, I think growing up in that environment where they're running a business, it's extremely challenging. It's go all the time, and then having that many siblings around, you don't get that sort of one-on-one with your parents, and you learn to sort of like they were there, but you sort of learn to lean on your siblings and self-survive. You become really independent at a young age, I think. And you learn that if you want good things in life, you're going to have to work really hard for them. And that's probably the biggest lesson that was taught to us growing up where we grew up, in the situation that we grew up in, is things don't come easy in this life. You need to go and you need to work and you need to make it happen for yourself. And so I think that in large part has really shaped how we even see this business today. When we started in this business, we knew it was going to be really difficult, and we knew it was going to take a lot of tenacity and grit. And, when we go out and we're pitching and we're selling, we expect the no's. It's the yeses that are always the surprises, right? And so I think that really helps in terms of stamina and sticking with it. When you're sort of expecting those no's, you can be a little bit, harder against them and carry on and carry forth. They just have less of a negative effect on you, I suppose.
Sure, that makes sense. So what about high school? Because here's something. You said there's about 100 kids in your high school, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm very familiar with that. I've talked about it on a previous podcast, and it was a school here, and from K to 12, there were when I got homeschooled, because I got homeschooled in grade 8. So from K to 12, I think there was, I want to say 90 kids in total.
Okay.
So really small school. So I'm really curious to hear what your experience was with a school of 100 kids.
That's really funny that you sort of pick up on that. So I think Yeah, high school was really difficult.
Okay.
I think, my class, I think there was 14 of us,
Yeah.
and I had been in a split grade when I was in grade 5, pulled
Okay.
up into sort of the grade 6 class, and there was only a few of us that were pulled up into that grade 6 class. So I ended up making some friends that carried through into high school.
Yeah.
And so there was always a bit of a divide, I think, with myself and the rest of the class. I definitely did not fit in. I wouldn't
Interesting.
say I had any good friends in my class.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if we were forming groups, I was definitely the last to be chosen.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I think that that experience, actually, I didn't pick up on this. I think my siblings, my sisters were telling me this the other day. I have a bit of an FU attitude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So sort of that, I'm going to prove myself.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even aware of it until they sort of brought that up the other day. And I thought, okay, maybe, yeah, I think these experiences, definitely experiences in our formative years shape who we are,
Yeah.
as we grow older and how we react to different situations.
Yeah.
So yeah, high school was it was a tough time. You kind of learn to rely on yourself and tell yourself to not care, keep trucking on, think long term, and this is just a phase, right? And
That's interesting though, because like you were saying, like you were almost like from the sounds of it, it sounds like you were the unpopular girl in the
mm-hmm,
school. But
mm-hmm,
but again, you have that, as you said, the fu attitude. And I mean, I've been looking at a lot of people, successful people that run really big businesses, whatever. They all have the same attitude,
mm-hmm.
and it's that attitude, and a lot of them weren't popular. But it's
Right,
like
yeah.
they have to prove themselves, and if someone tells them like you can't do something, it's almost like a challenge for them, and like they
Oh,
want to.
totally.
I get that 100%. Uh,
Completely. Yeah. It's like, yeah,
so
yeah.
why economics? So you go from high school, from a 100-person high school, or 100 people in your school,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go into university and chose economics. Is there a reason why? Like what made you want to get into economics in the first place?
Mm-hmm. Well, I loved my first year economics classes. I supply and demand and all the theory that went around with that. I
Mm-hmm.
just found it extremely interesting. So that's really how I chose it. Just my interest level was so high in
Okay.
just the market dynamics. It wasn't until year 3 when all of a sudden, all the theory is gone and it's like a straight up math course, and you're
Yeah,
thinking, okay, maybe I chose
yeah.
the wrong subject matter here. But I think again, it kind of goes back to the challenge. I loved the challenge of it. Economics is not an easy degree,
Nope.
and I was often like there was nobody like me in the class. Um, so I think it goes back to the challenge piece. I really enjoy a challenge,
Yeah.
and yeah, and that definitely served that need. Yeah.
So then, okay, here's the thing I'm trying to figure out. So you go into economics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you come out of university, and now you're doing three farmers, which I believe economics obviously probably would help 100% with that type of stuff. But it's still not in the same like category, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
for career wise. So what I mean, I know you kind of explained how three farmers got started and everything, but the idea of you joining it, how did that happen? Because in my head, it's you go to university for economics and stuff, you get a degree in it, but then you don't use it. Was that something like hard for you to decide? It's like you went to university for this degree, but now you're not going to use it entirely. Like you're going to go into business, into three farmers, and do this instead. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did that idea come about?
I think I always looked at my university degree maybe differently. That I never really had the intention of applying it directly. Like I wasn't going to go and be an economist
Okay.
somewhere.
Yeah.
I think I always looked at it as it was just teaching me a skill set that I was going to be able to apply later
Okay.
on in my life.
Yep.
And in like business is just fraught with challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you're literally solving problems every single day.
Yep.
And I think I built those skills through life experiences, but also through university, right?
Mm-hmm.
So figuring out hard subject matter that I had no idea anything
Yep.
about it at the
Yep.
beginning, and sort of working through that. And yeah, so I think it was always about fostering the right skill sets, not so much about understanding a specific subject matter.
Okay. Yep. Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So after university, then I did do a little bit of research, and I believe you worked for a company called Targeted Strategies Inc.
Yeah,
or
I
something.
did. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was that role? I couldn't find much on it.
Yeah, it was mostly about client services. So they do estate planning for high net worth individuals. So most of their business is in out in Toronto or in BC, and a lot of like they car dealership owners. Actually, one of their clients was the Nature's Path founders. So that's food
Okay,
manufacturing.
yeah,
So their ownership group. So really about succession planning for these individuals. So
yeah.
I did some of their like investment portfolio upkeep, and I would say in that role, I mean, I was young, I was 22,
Okay, yeah.
and it was my first real office job. That role really, I had like the two people running it at the time. It was a male female team,
Hmm.
and Michelle was her name that ran the office. She was highly organized, very purposeful with her time. They had great systems in terms of software that they used to communicate between the team,
Okay,
organize clients, organize their tasks so that nothing fell off the radar.
yeah.
And that really, that was what I took from that job, was how to organize myself and prioritize myself and keep track of ongoing activities, not so that I was tracking them in my head, but
Okay,
that I was getting that information out of my head so that I could move my attention to something else and know that nothing was dropping off behind me. So
got it.
yeah, it was kind of my first office experience, and it taught me a lot in just 2 short years I was there.
Oh, I was going to say, so it was 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, and then right out, or did you, were you still working there when you started Three Farmers, or no?
No, I quit and then moved to Three Farmers immediately. So like I have zero work experience. I mean, I did lots of serving,
Yeah,
that kind of thing in university, and obviously tons of summer jobs growing up. But that was my office experience and business experience before moving into what I'm doing now.
that seems
So
pretty risky though, like to completely leave a job like that to starting a business.
yeah, well, I mean, the timing was where I was young, I was
Yeah,
single, I had no responsibilities. I was renting at the time, so I didn't have a mortgage. It just, to me, it didn't even really seem risky at all at the
that,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Because I always had, like, I was still serving part time. There's always something that could be done
Hmm.
to generate some cash. So, yeah, I didn't really look at it as risky, but looking back now, just completely going into the unknown. It seems pretty phenomenal that we've been able to take it from where we were
Yeah,
with how little information and knowledge that we had and bring it to what we are today. So,
yeah. And like it's in my head to do something like that, like to take that big of a risk. Like you were saying, looking back on it now, you're just going like, oh, but like I think it's the time. Like that's the time to do it though, right? Like
mm-hmm,
do it when you're
mm-hmm.
younger and stuff. Because if I would assume you probably can't do that now. Just completely up and leave to a new thing. Like, oh, I'm good. Especially if you're just creating a business too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I always say, like, if I were to do what I did at that time, I don't think I could do it now. Like,
No.
I mean, the pounding the pavement, the weeks and the weeks on the road, the demoing in
Mm,
store, hours and hours and days in stores. I, I mean, maybe, I guess maybe I would, but it would be very difficult. Like,
yeah.
yeah, timing is everything, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
100%. Okay. So you get into Three Farmers. How does one just decide we're gonna go on to Dragon's Den? Because like so like like from other people's perspectives or even from a business owner perspective, let's take it from
Mhm.
that. It's like in my head that's not my first go-to. I think of like, you know what, I would go to like different investors or whatever, like private equity firms or whatever.
Mhm.
But you decided Dragon's Den. why,
Mhm.
why was that?
Well, it was actually one of our founding farmers that sort of phoned us up one day and thought this would be a really great mechanism to speak to the nation about what camelina oil is. Have we
Interesting. Okay.
considered doing this?
Yeah.
And I hadn't considered doing it, but I definitely started considering from that day forward.
Yep.
And I mean, I had my sister Alicia with me at all times, right?
Hmm.
Um, so we thought it over, and we actually did. This was in 2011 or maybe even 2010. And so we thought it over, and we agreed, let's do this. And we attended the audition. So they audition and or you can go and apply and then audition in front of a producer group across Canada. They have sort of a set period of time where these
Okay.
producers travel across Canada. And so I think it was at the university. And we pitched in front of these producers. They loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And we were pretty confident we were going to get a call back. And it was probably 4 weeks later, we were in Toronto on a sales trip and we got the call that we had made the cut and they wanted to schedule the date. And when we sat back down with our shareholder group, this is still in 2010, like we had just launched the product, I think. Very minimal distribution at this point.
Okay.
We were just starting to make sales. And we actually decided to turn them down. And the timing just wasn't right. And we didn't think that we could leverage the exposure as well as we needed to. And so we turned them down with the mindset that we were going to take the next 12 months to really build out our distribution. Instead of being sold locally, let's open this Toronto market and let's start pushing ourselves back west so that we have better distribution. When it airs on national television, we can get people trialing the product and it'll just be more strategic and have more legs.
Okay.
And I remember that, and that was also a risky decision because there was no guarantee that we were going to get another opportunity.
For sure. Yeah.
And so a year later, we did exactly what we said we were going to do. We opened up more cities with better distribution, and it came time for audition dates, and there was absolutely no date that we could make. Our travel schedule was just crazy. We were running around doing consumer shows and demos and selling, and so we just emailed the producer from the year before. She completely remembered who we were and what our product was, and we were a shoo-in. She was like, I totally remember you guys. Wow. You're on, and she scheduled the date, and all was good. So, so we were for sure very nerve-wracking. Like, we're young in the business.
Yep.
Our sales were still under 100,000 annually, and I mean, just even. We understood our business and our product, but like the financial literacy at a time like that was still very basic.
So how do you prepare for something like Dragons Den then? I think that's something that you can deliver a lot of value in, because again, most people don't do that type of stuff. So how did you guys prepare to go on a show like that and then to pitch in front of investors like that as well?
Yeah, so we did a lot of research. We watched a lot of different episodes. We would actually speak to some of our friends or colleagues that were in business school, and actually set up times for them to ask us questions so that we could practice answers. So preparation was so key in that. So yeah, it was just a lot of practice, really trying to get in front of the questions and know what was coming our way prior to going in there. And again, there was the two of us. So we really had the opportunity to lean on each other. So when a question was asked, somebody could respond to it. And if something got missed out, the other could sort of make up for that. They had the time.
Okay.
Right? And that's the thing with Alicia and I too. We really balance each other out. She's very strong in one area and I'm very strong in another.
Yeah.
So makes for a really well-rounded team, and that's how we were prepared. And it was a really phenomenal experience, very nerve-wracking, but once we got in there and we got into the conversation, it just flowed.
Like you're just like in the zone at that point and you're ready to go.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that makes sense.
I mean, there's nothing that we love talking about more than our brand and our product.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, wait, so let's talk about your sister quickly. Her name's Alicia, correct?
Yeah, Alicia.
Okay, perfect. And she's a Red Seal chef?
She is, yeah.
Can you explain to me what that is then?
Yeah, so essentially it is it's the certification for culinary school. So she went here to Polytechnic here in Saskatchewan and then trained under Peter Phillips out at Country Club Golf Course.
Okay.
I believe it was. Then she actually catered for the University of the President here for a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
And then she moved out to Toronto and worked under Sue Lee. So he's a celebrity chef on the Food Network. He had a really high-end restaurant out in Toronto at that time, and she worked for him for just over a year, and really honed her skills in the kitchen. She's a phenomenal chef. She does really well under pressure, and extremely organized, and her execution is just phenomenal.
So what is the biggest takeaway you guys took from going out to Dragons Den then?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway was like there is a market for this product, right? Yeah. I mean, everybody that tried it on that panel, on that Dragon panel, loved it. And so that and our ability to sell. Like at the end of the day, we're really good salespeople. And you have to be, if you're going to start a business, you need to be passionate about what you're doing. you need to have the mindset that you'll figure it out no matter what it is. You're going to be able to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to be able to sell that vision. And I think coming out of Dragons Den, for sure, it really hit home how important that sales attribute was going to be in building this company.
And did you know you had that sales ability?
No,
No?
no,
Huh.
yeah, no, I wouldn't even really call myself like an extrovert at all.
Okay.
I force myself into situations, and I love talking to people and I
Yep.
love asking questions, but I would rather do that on a one-on-one than in a big group setting.
Okay. Yep. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
So, what does a typical day look like for you now? Like running the business and everything. I mean, you don't have to get into incredible detail, but I
Mm-hmm.
also know like you have a family and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also running this business full time, and
Mm-hmm.
it's scaling pretty big now too, from the looks of it and everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
what does your life look like on a day to day basis?
Mm-hmm. Well, the role of my role as CEO, I think it's my job to know a little bit about a lot of things. And my role changes so often in this
Mm,
company as we grow. So, 2 years ago, I was still really heavy in the sales and in the travel and on the front end. And then a year ago, we started hiring people, and I was doing the operations too, all of the supply chain management. And then a year ago, we started, well, 18 months ago, we started building on our team. So then my role changed to being a team builder and really championing the people that I was hiring and making
okay.
sure that I was giving them the right building blocks. And now today, I would say that I'm almost, we raised outside capital last year and we put in place a formal board. And now my role is really about setting strategy and ensuring that the team is clear on that,
Mm.
that we're all headed down that same path towards execution and achieving those annual
Oh,
goals.
okay.
So, way more strategic thinking now than before.
Yeah.
So, my days, they,
They
oh
vary.
man, they can vary
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
dramatically. But I mean, I try to get up early, usually around 5. A couple of times a week, I hit like a weight class, like the gym, of course.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I'm trying to get in. That's my learning time, my podcasting time, where I listen to podcasts on leadership
Oh,
or
okay.
marketing, or I often have a number of Audible books on the go, or
Mm.
I'm reading a biography. I just finished the Everything Store about Jeff Bezos of Amazon.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my learning time early in the morning. I have 3 boys. They're 6, 4, and 3,
Okay.
and so I need to be ready by 7. If I can, I'd like to see them in the morning, so
Yep.
I try to not go in until 8, and then after that, it's often a lot of meetings. Yeah, a lot of meetings, a lot of again strategy and thinking time. We're building out plans for U.S. entry.
Oh,
We
nice.
have
Okay.
sales in Asia, so we're building out and leveraging our existing customers in
Yeah.
Asia for the market there. So, yeah, a lot of planning and implementation discussion through the day. And then right after work, it's often activities. So we're
Okay.
running for activities. And then once the kids are in bed, it's usually more work. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what time do you usually leave the office then? Like five? Like, are you a
Um,
9 to 5 type of girl, or do you go for a
yeah,
little
like
bit
I
longer?
mean, because of the kids' schedules, I try and get out of here and home. I try to make it to the activity. So my husband, we try and stagger our hours so that he gets home earlier. He can get them to the activity, and I
Okay.
strive to be there to at least see the hockey game or watch the karate practice. But yeah, it's usually 5:30.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
nothing excessive. Hence the need to sort of crack the books once everybody's back down.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you got a good balance down. It sounds like too. Like you were able to figure that
yeah.
out. I feel like a lot of people struggle with that, especially if they have a family. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's one of the biggest questions. Is like how do
Mm-hmm.
you find that balance? But it's I mean
Yeah,
it's
and I think that's like something that I mean, one day I'll feel like I have everything under the control,
yeah.
and then it's completely falling apart. But I am really a big proponent of, if something's not feeling right and every day is a disaster, then something's not working here, and you need
Mm-hmm.
to figure it out. And that happens to us always. Like this, we're constantly
Interesting.
changing things. My first pregnancy was kind of a disaster. I didn't know what having a baby would be like, and I was
Mm.
trying, don't get mat leave. So, I learned from that,
Yeah.
and I got a nanny for the second one. And yeah, you try and just make things work. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Um. Okay. So we're okay. We're running a little low on time here, so I'm going to get to the more bigger questions, if you will.
Yeah.
So what is what was it like to start a business in Saskatchewan, especially a business like this? Because I know you're direct to consumer as well, and I think that's a new. I don't want to say it's a new concept. It's becoming more popular. I think, especially with the internet and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What was it like to start a business like that in Saskatchewan? Because again, the market here isn't massive. It's not like a Toronto, for example, or
Yeah.
like Ontario and stuff like that. So,
Mhm.
what was your experience trying to? I think the biggest thing would be trying to scale a business from Saskatchewan. What was that
Mhm.
like?
Yeah, we early on recognized the need to move to make sure that we were funneling product to a really large
Mm,
market. Like, we went to Toronto quite early on. I think, being here in Saskatchewan, everyone was very supportive. So I think that there's good infrastructure here that we could leverage, especially like because we are grower based and we manufacture our own products. So, we lean heavily on our suppliers for their knowledge about the correct cleaning procedures for pulses,
oh,
right?
okay. Yeah.
And we formed a partnership early on with another Saskatchewan food processor that helped us scale our manufacturing very quickly. And so I think, yeah, being here in Saskatchewan, I think there you can foster that sense of collaboration
Mm-hmm.
and really catapult yourself forward if you're open to those types of
Oh, okay.
partnerships.
Yeah.
And yeah, but definitely from a revenue perspective, we started here. Of course, we make sure that we take care of our customers here. And when I
Mm-hmm.
say customer, I mean retailer, and consumer, I mean end
Yep.
consumer. So in terms of customer, like our retailers here, we try and foster a really close relationship with them, make sure that our product is forefront in their mind, that it's being merchandised properly, and if we can help in any way, we do that.
Okay.
But we also need to make sure that we understand that a big portion of our revenues are coming from those large centers in Canada right now.
Do
Yeah.
you um do you only sell through retailers, or do you sell direct? Like, do you have an inventory that you actually sell direct or ship it directly to people as well, or no?
Mhm.
You do?
Yeah, we have we through Shopify, we sell through our own website, but
Okay.
we're also available on Amazon, which essentially is our own stock as well. We just use Amazon as the vehicle, so it's
Okay.
Prime
That's
eligible.
smart.
It's one of their programs, and yeah, so
Yeah.
we manage that as well.
Smart. Okay. Big question for you. Again, I don't know if you have an answer for this, but is there anything you wish you could have done differently in your career or even leading up to your career?
Uh,
And literally, it could be like maybe you would have chosen a different degree. Maybe it's you would have learned something back in high school, taking a
mhm.
different job, whatever it may be. Is there something that like it just bugs you and you wish you would have done it differently?
I think that we could have, yeah, to go back even to university or at any point in my life, it would have been nice to learn this earlier on. But being more purposeful with my time, I think I spun my wheels a lot, even in the beginning of this business, doing things that weren't necessarily moving the dial forward.
Oh,
And
okay.
instead of stopping to think about that, you're running so hard that you're not
Mm-hmm.
really thinking about what you're doing. You're just going through the actions, and you're not gauging, is this really actually serving my purpose or not?
Okay.
So I wish I had done some of that, more of that self discovery or some of that self investment and learning earlier on, especially when I started having my family. I think
Interesting.
it would have saved us a lot of heartache
And
if
you
I.
and you had your family at around what time?
That was in my first son was born in 2013. So at that point, like when we were still working out of my house.
Oh, okay.
And we had a couple of external employees that were coming into my home, and I didn't like it was,
Yeah.
I wish if I could go, if I knew then what I know now, I definitely would have done things differently there.
Hmm.
But, we all survived it and we came out the other side,
Yep. Yep.
and we learned some valuable lessons.
It's awesome. Okay, so a few more questions before we get into the fire round. Hope that's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay, so if you could share, I mean, you kind of just touched on this a little bit, I guess, but if you could share one piece of knowledge for other business owners, what would it be? Because I feel like you're in a unique position, especially with working with the dragons and stuff for investors like that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, your business is scaling like tremendously. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so do you have any piece of knowledge that, like, for you, it's stuck really well, like, and you, for some reason, it's always in your head that you can share to other business owners?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things, but I think for me, probably one of the keys, especially if you're trying to scale or grow a business, is make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people. And that could be champions, or it could be maybe team members. In my case right now, it's board members,
Mm,
because I'm trying to build a circle of of influence, but also a circle of support that they're going to push us and they're
okay.
going to challenge us, and they're asking the right questions. And that's so important right now. So
Hmm.
that we are propelling ourselves forward on this really fast growth trajectory, but we're also protecting ourselves from some of the risk elements that are inherent in that. And
Interesting.
so, yeah, I would definitely say, take note of who you're surrounding yourself with, and don't be afraid to branch out and pull somebody into that circle if you think that they have some skill sets that you could lean on. Mhm.
Okay, that's sure. And okay, so then does from the sounds of it, it sounds like your circle changes along the way. Like the bigger you get,
Mhm.
I don't want to say your circle, but like you're saying, like the people you surround yourself with,
Yeah,
like
definitely.
that changes constantly. It's not a consistent thing then.
Yeah, no, I would say it can. I mean, there'll be those constant individuals,
Yeah.
I think. But at different times in your business, you're going to need different skill
Yeah.
sets, and you're going to be up against different challenges. And I often find the best way of learning is, I mean, there's learning firsthand by making mistakes.
Yeah.
But sometimes those can be fatal. So if you can surround yourself by individuals that have been there, done that, and made their own
Yeah.
mistakes, you can learn from those. I think that's just so
So
essential.
that's an interesting perspective. I haven't heard that before. Okay, two more questions before I get to fire round. You focus a lot on the end consumer, you say. Um, how exactly do you do that? Like, I
Mhm.
believe that people need to be more aware. First of all, like of the end consumer, like it's a very important thing, especially with the internet today. Like you need to understand who you're selling to and everything, and why they're
Mhm.
buying your products, stuff like that. But how did you go about figuring that out? I know you went in the store a lot to
Mhm.
do that, but was there any other way? Maybe it's even like online stuff through like analytics or whatever. Like, can you explain how you figured out your demographic or who you're trying to sell to? Does
Mhm.
that make sense?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think, and that also evolves over the life of a company. But at the early days, I mean, we were speaking direct to the consumer. We were doing the demos. We were at the consumer shows. So we got to hear that firsthand feedback when
Yeah.
they first tried the product, or when they first saw the brand, or when they heard the brand story.
Mm,
And we would take that information very seriously, and then funnel that back into the brand, and let it inform how we did things around here, or how we constructed our packaging, or what flavors we launched in our product line.
okay.
And today, that's a great question, because we're embarking on a brand refresh right now, which is going to result in new packaging and a
Mm,
new. Today, how we do that is through quantitative analysis. So we will do online testing of these different concepts and these different logo structures, and really ask the consumer, are they understanding our brand story through this imagery and through this
interesting.
text? And what could be different? What do they like? What do they not like? So I think it's really important that we have that consumer weighing in on that on that whole journey, because it is really about
Mm,
them.
yeah.
Without them, we don't exist. So we need to make sure that we're always listening, and taking that feedback seriously.
And a lot of things, it sounds like you're actually, I remember watching a speech you have. I think it was a speech. It was either that or an interview. It was on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, and you said that in the beginning you base a lot of your decisions off of like your gut feeling, but
Mm-hmm.
now it's a lot of your decisions are based off of numbers.
Well, numbers, but there's still a lot of gut in it, I think,
Interesting.
too. And
Okay.
yeah, so it's always, I think there's always going to be that sort of gut check
Yeah.
that needs to be done. I don't think that ever goes away. But I think you can try and back that up
Yeah.
with consumer data when when you're a little bit further along and you have the results.
What do you think makes a gut feeling?
Oh,
It's that's a really deep question, I know, but like
well, I mean, there's, for us, we know who we are as a brand,
yeah.
and we know how we operate internally. And so, putting that into perspective with this brand refresh, if what I'm seeing doesn't resonate with those values, and that internal like life that we've created in this brand, then it's not going to fit. That's gut check number. If it doesn't feel right, you can't go forward with it, right? So, and that happens a lot. Like they'll be stewing over a situation that's just not feeling right. Something's wrong, and then you go out and you try and validate that feeling, right? Ask people, ask consumers, but do not ignore those feelings, because often your gut is right.
That's interesting. Okay. Last big question before we get into fire rounds. Where does Three Farmers want to end up? What is your personal goal with the company?
Well, really, like our vision is to be that trusted brand and provider of foods with natural goodness. That's what we say our vision is, and not just Canada-wide, not just North America-wide, worldwide.
Interesting. Okay.
I think there is an inherent trust in farmers, and I think that the fact that we're so connected to where our food comes from is really unique in the food world today. Food manufacturers are often, or food brands are often being co-packed. They don't know the farmers. They don't understand the origins of these products. And we have that ability to keep that trust and to tell that story. And and that's where we really want to go with it.
So that's a big goal. I mean, from the sounds of it, you guys are gonna eventually it's gonna happen. Like,
I just gotta keep trying.
100%. Right? Okay, you ready for the fire round questions?
Oh, sure. I might bomb this.
Okay, so again, just to give you a little refresher on it, it's about 10 to 15 questions, but they're gonna be fast. Whatever first thing that comes to your mind, say it. That's your answer. Then we'll move on. Okay. So first question: what is your favorite way to kill time?
Reading.
Okay. What is one skill set you really want to learn or develop?
Leadership.
Okay. If you could have a 1 hour conversation with someone, who would it be with? And it could be past or present.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a hard one. Well, I just finished the book, so I'll say Jeff Bezos. Okay. I was just, I just to understand that man better, because he sounds like a very complicated individual.
And he's a phenomenal anyways,
pretty cutthroat, but yeah.
Okay, anyways, I mean, okay, you grew up on the farm, correct?
Yeah.
So what was your favorite thing to do on the farm?
Favorite thing to do on the farm? We did a lot of grass cutting, and that was an opportunity to really zone out and daydream. I was pretty good at doing it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
The book that has impacted you the most, what is it?
The One Thing.
That's what the book is called?
It's called The One Thing.
Okay.
It is a phenomenal book and changed my life 2 years ago. Yeah.
And who is it by?
Keller. Gary Keller is one of the authors.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. And we'll put that the book link in the description for people too. Okay. If you could only listen to this was a hard one. If you could only listen to one music artist for the rest of your life, who would it be?
And I'm really bad with music. If I'm listening to something, it's usually a podcast or an audible. Yeah. One artist? I don't even know. Probably something country. Keith Urban.
Okay, how about this? Instead of music, what about podcasts? If you could listen to one podcast, what would it be?
I have a few favorites. The One Thing actually has a podcast as well. It's a nice reminder of to live by priority.
Okay.
So that one's good. On Leadership is another that I listen to. It's through the Franklin Covey Institute.
Okay.
And then what's this one? It's out of Vancouver. It's out of Montreal. The one I listen to all the time. I forget the name, but it's a really great podcast. He covers so many different topics. Let me look here.
Yeah, for sure. And again, we'll put all these things in the description too for people to go listen to. And
6 Pixels of Separation.
Perfect. Okay, I haven't heard of any of those, so now I need to go look at those. Okay, what is a big misconception that people have about farmers or farming?
That it's simple.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Do you speak any other languages?
I do not.
Okay. What is the one thing that drives you the most?
Um, hmm. I think it's just the desire to succeed, to do to do what I set out to do and to see that through.
And that's is
In
that
all aspects.
okay?
It's just, I think I said to my husband one time, I want to do extraordinary things in this
Hmm.
life. And I think that's always, that I think that's what has me pushing myself constantly to the limits. Like if he had
Okay.
let me, I would have had 10 kids, right?
Yep.
And, always going to the extreme.
Yep.
Um, I think, I don't know. It's just this weird thing inside of me that always just going to the extreme. Yeah.
Okay. One thing that you want to try but haven't yet.
I want to try, but haven't. I actually would love to homeschool my kids.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting when you said that at the
Huh.
beginning. I got on this big kick with my husband because I said I really want just the way the world is going. There's so many scary things out there, and how
100%.
disconnected families can be. I really want to be able to pull them, just even if it's just a couple months at a time, and go somewhere in the world
Yeah.
and learn about a different culture and a different way of life, and we could homeschool. Yeah.
I really believe being homeschooled, as a side note, was probably the best thing that's happened to me so far. I mean, I'm still young. I'm only 21, but like
Mm-hmm.
looking back on it now, that's where I learned a lot of stuff that I apply today. And
Mm-hmm.
another big thing, like what you're saying, traveling the world and stuff. Like I was given the opportunity to travel with my dad a lot and see
Mm-hmm.
different cultures. Like we went to Israel, Norway, places in the States, stuff like that. And it definitely gives you a perspective that,
Mm-hmm.
and again, I don't think a lot of people understand the value of perspective, but like, man, when you see that stuff, it's for some reason it changes you. It really does.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyways, homeschool. I'm an advocate for it. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Three more questions here. If you could have your product promoted by one celebrity or influencer, who would it be?
One celebrity or influencer. Oh,
Like your dream person to like, if they could promote our product, I want that person.
I'm trying to think of some of the well-known chefs that I definitely on the oil side of things because we always just get such amazing feedback on
Hmm.
the oil.
Okay.
Any celebrity chef in that regard, I think would be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're on a blank, I don't know. I don't know who I would
So
choose.
celebrity chef either way. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
really matter which one, but as long as one of them would do it,
yeah,
you're
definitely on
thrilled.
the oil, and then and any sort of any nutritionist
Oh, okay.
on the snack side. They're just such a healthy, wholesome, real snack food,
Hmm.
and I feel like the nutritionists and dietitians they really get that. Yeah,
Perfect. Okay. Two more. Most important thing to establish in your company culture.
teamwork.
Okay. Uh, Last question. Do you have a secret talent?
Oh, I don't know. I always tell my husband I have no hobbies,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
there's no talent flowing through that. Secret talent. I think I think I have the ability to really drive a vision forward. Like when I
Hmm.
believe in something, I think I have the ability to really draw that picture out for people of what that might look like and hopefully get them to follow along with that. Yeah.
That's a good answer. I like it. Anyways, Natasha, thank you for coming on the show today. And I mean, I think you provided a lot of value personally, especially coming from the perspective of growing up in Saskatchewan, too. I think that's a very unique point of view that a lot of people, especially when you get to the bigger cities, like in out east, a lot of them I don't think would fully grasp
Mm-hmm.
unless they're here, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add before we end this or anything?
No, I think we covered it. Thank you. I had a lot of
Perfect.
fun. That was great.
Perfect. Me
Thank
too.
you.
And where can people find you online?
So threefarmers.ca is our website.
Okay.
And if you're searching for product, we are available online, and also through most brick and mortar stores throughout Canada. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And we'll link all your social media down below as well, and people see on the screen. So everyone, go give her a follow, give her company a follow. Stay up to date with them. They're you guys are doing wonderful things. Like it's actually quite amazing to watch. So anyways, thank you for coming on the show, and yeah, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Take care.